Okay, Mr. Ashton Frey. Let's read up all on your profile. We're almost at the end. December 26th, Capricorn, 29 years old, a very good age, 5'5", detective inspector, American Japanese, non-practicing Christian, bachelor's degree in forensic science, likes taiyaki ice cream, Shirley, Ophelia, old-timey action movies and thrillers, kart racing, jazz and swing, Sherlock Holmes, and justice. There was little love between his parents, and though he grew up privileged, he found little joy in student life. He saw the standard testing system as a chore and considers his popularity among his peers to be an annoyance. Rebecca was the only one he considered a friend in St. Goretti, and he was no better when he went into university. If anything, his indifferent outlook got worse with his parents' divorce. He initially took law, but was quickly disillusioned by how heavy-handed and abused the system was. Forensic science, on the other hand, became fascinating for him. He served a brief time as a police officer before he applied to join Luxburn's Criminal Investigation Department. Early on, he was too eager to deal out justice, but his numerous years in service became quite the learning experience for him. Now, as a detective inspector, he's been assigned to his biggest case yet. There you go. Parties have never been really my thing. They're always such a hassle and take so much time off my day. Prior plans and commitments canceled, all for the sake of playing along with others.
Welcome everyone.
I hated them even as a child.
Please, make yourselves at home.
But Mom often insisted. She'd slick my hair back, put me in one of those stuffy dinner jackets, and if there were any children around, urged me to make friends. Never mind how utterly loud or tedious it was all for the sake of keeping up appearances. To some extent, lies have already surrounded me long before I've chosen what I wanted to do with my life. Luckily, there were easy ways to tune everything out, and much to my mom's frustration, I always managed to sneak my CD player along. I kept to myself and to my music, had my own little world, until I learned to observe. It's a simple matter of awareness, really. And for someone with keen eyes, a skewed necktie or a simple flick of wrist alone could tell volumes about a person. I still don't like parties, especially ones as big and fancy as the Wright's housewarming. However, when there's actual reason to go to them, I figure they're not too bad.
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
Besides, like it or not, it's all part of the job. I'm here on a mission. One that has the name Luke Wright plastered all over it. You'd think the man would want to remain inconspicuous after his name was linked to several high-profile crimes across Luxburn. Granted, most of it have gone cold over the years, having stagnated without any lead or evidence, but that still doesn't make him any less suspect. Yet here he is throwing a party in his own backyard. Although, having observed the man this past year, I'm not even shocked. He craves it, the damn spotlight. Constantly yearns for attention like a neglected puppy. It doesn't take a genius to figure out why he's nowhere to be found in his own party. But that's not the problem here. What pisses me off is how far his reach extends, how close he has creeped into the lives of the people I care about. Again, like a stubborn itch he couldn't be rid of. First Professor Clark, then there's Isabella. I also spotted Z-Man here a while ago, and now there's also Rebecca. Apparently.
Ashton?
Becca, what are you doing here?
I was invited.
Really? I had no idea you were friends with the host.
That explains things, and makes this difficult, all the same. As if getting a contact among the staff to sneak a name into the guest list isn't hard enough. The guy almost ditched me last night and might have placed another setback on my investigation if it wasn't for my generous tip. Then here comes Rebecca, another person to mind.
Well, it's my parents, actually. But that's beside the point. What are you doing here? You hate parties.
I still do. I'm just here on behalf of a friend.
A necessary lie. I can't bring my own friends into this any further than what they found themselves in. Because if Luke Wright so much as harms a hair on either Zach's or Rebecca's heads, there will be hell to pay. Worrying about Isabella's brief dealings with him is stressing in itself already. I doubt he'll attempt anything in front of other people, though. It would tarnish his glorious reputation, and he values appearances more than anything. That doesn't necessarily mean he isn't capable of it. More than, in fact. And on the off chance he does something, I wouldn't be responsible for my actions.
That's rare. Do you have someone with you then?
Nope, just me. I won't be staying long.
Oh, well, if that's the case, maybe you and I can...
I can't believe Mr. Observant Ash can't look at Becca's face right now and be like, you know, I observe a faint blush upon her cheeks. That probably means X. Nope. Nothing. Completely oblivious boy. For Zach's and Rebecca's sakes, however, I really hope this will simply be another housewarming. Even though something tells me it's anything but. Call it a detective's intuition or whatever. When Luke Wright's involved, nothing good has ever come out of it. I can't let my guard down here. Even more so when a familiar car slows to a stop and out comes...
Chief?
My presence here might be odd at best, but I have an excuse. One that this man handed to me himself a year ago, along with a heavy dose of flattery for the newly promoted detective inspector. Can't exactly say the same for my good old boss, can I? Although to see him here, chatting it up with Luxburn's rich and famous isn't such a big surprise in itself. No disrespect meant, but the guy is obviously a social climber. What is surprising is the fact that he seems all too eager to mingle with a person of interest's wife. Just what the hell is he doing here?
Ashton, what's...
Sorry, Becca. I need to... There's something I need to check for a bit. I'll talk to you later. Do you have a ride home?
No, I had to take a cab here. My car wouldn't start this afternoon. But what about...
What the shit is going on here?
I told you to get that old thing checked before, didn't I? You can head back with me after this. Anyway, I gotta go. See ya. Be careful, okay?
Hey, be careful! About what exact...
Bye! I don't want to draw attention to myself either. At least not until he's given me proper reason to spoil his little party.
Thank you for the invite, Anna. Husband still missing, I see.
I should be saying the same of your darling Rochelle, Lee. The doctors again.
For now, the best I can do is wait and remain inconspicuous, especially with Chief here, whose motives are dubious at best. If it means having to pretend I don't know Zach and Rebecca, or forcing myself to rub elbows with people I barely know, let alone like, then so be it. I can't involve anyone. Wandering is out of the question as well, when there are guards and civvies stationed here and there. Sure, getting past them is something I could do with ease, but I'd rather not right now, when I'm one of the few snooping and roaming about. It'd be best to try and do so once there's a crowd of people. And if their interior designer's drunken claims are to be believed...
Yes, well, what about Luke? Should we file a missing persons report now, or do you want to wait 24 hours?
He's around.
You know, I can tell if someone's bluffing.
It'll all come down to how well I'll play my cards tonight. With a good hand, this party is going to give me the breakthrough I need to crack Luke right, or something to prove my suspicions wrong. Maybe find out what kind of game my boss is also playing. I've had an inkling before, a few hunches, tempered down by how much of a bumbling fool the man appears. But one does not simply deal with the rights and get invited to a party they host without wanting anything from either of the two. Or it's the other way around. So with a last wary glance at the two, I head into the ballroom. I just hope this will not complicate things further. Shit. I forgot how much I enjoy Ashton's inner thoughts. They're so flowery and poetic and yet also crass. And then he opens his mouth and it's just garbage comes out. So he's one of my favorite characters. By the time the party's in full swing, night has fallen, yet there still isn't a Luke Wright in sight. The man can be quite ostentatious, but this? Frankly, I'm impressed. I don't even know how many... excuse me. I don't even know how many hors d'oeuvres I've already stuffed my face with. Too many. One too many, probably. The servers are already giving me a stink eye every time I saunter over to the buffet table. Blame your employer, not me. He's the one who has the guts to show up late. Besides, most of the guests' idle talk is concentrated in this area. Despite standing under the same roof with the very people they're whispering about, some just couldn't resist. I might as well keep an ear out for any useful info.
Is Suarez still fixing that tech problem?
Suarez.
Tech problem?
It's been 3 years. Sooner or later, the Blighter will put 2 and 2 together.
He might have already.
If the red tape I'm being slammed with these past few months suggests anything. That or someone has been pulling the strings. I wouldn't be shocked. This case would not have gone this long if Scumbag didn't have a mule of some kind in the force.
Shush you, we all know Suarez just wants an out.
I knew he was bad news the day the merger with Evans Incorporated happened.
Feh. Glad I did not have to deal with that.
Feh.
But keep it down, someone might hear. The wife especially.
This kind of negligence has always been an advantage, but sometimes I wish I could be smashed drunk while doing this. Having sharp ears also means you get to hear the most unsavory things. Who cheated on who this week, one person's motive for bashing someone's skull against a wall, or a father's excuse for burning his own daughter alive, that sort of stuff. After a few years it gets tiring, you get desensitized to it. But humans could also be downright awful. Sometimes there simply isn't enough brain bleach in the world. Sadly, the wine is a no-go tonight, and mostly for show. I'm up for another drive later, for one, and I definitely want to be sober in case anything comes up. And something always comes up in assignments like this. A detective inspector dying of cardiac arrest, for example. Because I can feel the moment my heart grinds to a halt the second I shift my eyes to a corner of the ballroom.
Hannah Wright.
Some will say I'm acting a touch bit paranoid, and maybe I am. This is a party, and she's the hostess. It goes to say that she'd take time to mingle with her guests. But Hannah Wright, née Evans, isn't without her fair share of accolades. At least to the public, she doesn't seem like it. Unlike her husband, she's the one with the business sense, not to mention the impressive track record needed to manage a company. Or effectively hide whatever irregularity there might be. She's clean, as far as my agents and I have found, but it doesn't rule out a possible involvement with whatever her husband's up to. Even with Z-Man's personal opinion of the woman, there are certain gut feelings you really couldn't shake off. Hell, Luke Wright came out clean in previous reports until I bothered to take a deeper look into it. What I found may not be sufficient to bring anyone to trial yet, but it's enough to nurture suspicion. This may be a bit of an overreaction, but no one lasts long in my line of work by being careless.
You would catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't you think?
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this fancy. I would have gone with a nice dress if I knew.
Nothing to be worried about then. It's fine. I'm sure they aren't talking about anybody important. She's probably even more careful with appearances than her own husband, having grown up with the spotlight focused on her. Yet even knowing that, the anxiety stays, has been here since the party started. I've brushed it off earlier. Who wouldn't feel edgy, right? I've gone undercover in a party hosted by the very person I'm investigating. That in itself is risky and has plenty of rooms for error. Usually, though, the tension passes around the first half hour or so. I've been trained to remain composed in situations like this. However, with each second I spend here, it only grows heavier and seeks to overwhelm. An odd feeling that someone is watching me instead. It has been like this since last week, but I should already be used to this. People would be looking at me, no matter how small or big of a blip I am on their radar. That's what they do in these things. But when the feeling of eyes burning into my back lingers longer than necessary, I've been looking around every now and then to catch the culprit. No luck. And despite my efforts to push the sensation as far down as I could, tiny pinpricks continue to sting the back of my head, and the ghost of a cold touch creeps up my limbs. Until my gaze switches back to Rebecca and Hannah Wright. I get to see what Hannah sees, but not Becca. She stands there, dark-haired and dirty, sticking out like a sore thumb. Even so, no one seems to notice. Although she's looking away from me, her mere existence here strikes. Disturbs. A sense of tunnel vision binds while I stand stock still and gape at her, like my life depends on making sure she stays where she is. I feel trapped in her presence until another guest bumps into me, yanking me out of my stupor. Only then do I realize that I've been holding my breath. Before I could figure out what happened, she's gone. A quick scan of the room yields no sign of her. The party continues as if nothing's amiss. I'm not really one to judge, but I'm sure someone like that would not have been allowed in a fancy thing like this. What has the security been doing? Are they really that incompetent for someone so distinct to easily get in without notice? There should have been an outcry by now, particularly from the host. She's been standing almost an arm's length away from the woman, and yet she simply continues her talk with Rebecca.
Oh, the professor! And your little Becky!
My parents couldn't make it since they're in Scotland right now. And Mom says hi, by the way.
Is there something in the food, then? That I'm starting to see things? It couldn't have been the wine, though. I'm every bit as sober as when I first stepped off my car. The hors d'oeuvre? But why would anyone want to do that? Why would Luke Wright want to do that? He's fishy, but I couldn't see why he'd ever think it'd be a good idea to lace the food he'd serve in his party, with someone like Chief Lee on his guest list to boot. He has been linked to narcotics trade, yep. However, that kind of tactic is below him. That much I could tell. Unless there's a mass murder waiting to happen here tonight, which I highly doubt. So...
What the fuck was that?
That leaves me with one question. But there's no time to look deeper into this even if I want to. Not when a telling silence comes upon the room and draws everyone's attention to the main doors of the ballroom.
About damn time.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Enjoying the party? I hope I'm not too late in welcoming you all to the Wright Mansion.
I've been tailing this guy for a while now. Before that, I heard stories from previous officers who tackled this case, none of which are pleasant. Mind, I'm not counting the incident with Professor Clark yet. Pleasant is glossing over the gravity of it. While Wright's good at covering whatever shady stuff he's doing, he's shown to be a really rotten guy. At least that's the case when he thinks none of his peers are around to judge him. I've lost track of how many counts of verbal abuse and harassment cases the guy could be pinned with. Fuck, he even tried to make a move on Isabella back in the open house. Right in front of his wife. Standing in the same room as him doesn't make me want to punch him any less. Actually, the urge is stronger, but protocols? My case, first and foremost. My own opinion of the man shouldn't get ahead of my purpose here. If I want to put him in his place, it should be in a court with all proper charges filed against him. And I'll only be able to do that once I gather enough evidence to pin this bastard down.
Welcome, one and all, to our humble abode. Tonight, if you have yet to find yourself in your roles, you are our ladies and lords of the court of your king and queen, if you would excuse my presumptuousness. So, enjoy the feast that has been laid out for your senses as we only allowed the best to be served. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone!
Suppressing my annoyance, I prepare to step away from the crowd. Amidst the cheers and claps, now is as good a time as any to move. Try to find that something the McCulloch woman talked about. In the first place, I have no plans to actually shake hands with the slime ball himself. A fake smile is plastered on my face while I pretend to listen to one of the other guests gossiping about him, all while slowly inching out of the ballroom. Unfortunately, before I could get any further...
Are you feeling ill, Rochelle? Perhaps you need to sit down and...
Rich people only have two ways to resolve their mess. Either they quietly deal with it behind closed doors, or they create an even greater problem out of it and it just blows up in everybody's faces one way or another. Fun.
No! Shut it, you monster! I ain't talking to you! I'm talking to this scumbag over here! You bloody bastard standing there with your smarmy smile!
Not even a few seconds in, and this is already proving itself to be a big public spectacle. Why spend money on a television to buy daytime soap operas? You could just go to one of these parties and see the action unfold in real life. You get free food, too. Really, if I were an actual guest, I'd just take this as some sordid form of amusement.
Watch your tongue! You're on thin ice, Rochelle. Where's your husband? Who even invited you?
But I'm not a guest who's here for a good time. I need to focus on him even through this whole sorry tale. So I wait, I listen, I observe. Interesting, isn't it, though? That's the Chief Inspector's wife. I'll just leave that there for you guys to chew on. The morning after starts off quiet. Even the whole of Salemwell Residences seems unusually still. The open hallway, when I step out, is devoid of tenants. No sound coming from the other units either. It's almost as if something's brewing on the horizon. A peaceful night's sleep still does wonders for the mood, though. I can't even remember the last time I've slept without anything urgent interrupting. It's a nice break from all the bad news lately. If it wasn't for the insistent buzzing in my pocket waking me up, I'd sleep in. The ringing has stopped before I could move somewhere private, but sleep has also been effectively kicked out of my system by then. Pity. I could use a little more rest until I have to face the other storm. Course I owe Rebecca an explanation. It doesn't matter if it's the whole truth or another hastily spun tale. Although I haven't really figured out how to go about this yet. Unlike Zach and Isabella, who don't usually ask questions and are content with what little I could share, Rebecca's rather quick on the trigger. It will have to be set aside for later, though.
Sup, I'm Ash from Deluxe City.
Better watch out, can't beat me. Looking for trouble, better not lie. I'm a cool dude, pretty fly for an Asian guy. I love his ringtone. The Chief's name stares back at me, almost as if it's mocking me. Sad. It would have been nice to just chill after last night, or maybe half listen to the news. Sure, it's the same thing we've been hearing lately. Still beats standing outside in the chilly Luxburn morning on the phone with my boss. Sighing, I answer it, if only to get this over with.
Ray, where are you right now?
I'm vibin'. Now, that's a tone I didn't expect from him at this hour. Just thinking how this will go already gives me a headache. Immediately, I reach up and pinch the bridge of my nose to stave it off.
This is why I won't ever drink myself senseless.
What was that?
What was that?
Nothing, Chief. A pleasant morning to you, too.
He's probably calling to rag on me or complain about his wife, which is really none of my business unless it affects my case. It seems like the usual rich man cheats on wife deal. Although I would have followed up on it if it were somebody else's wife. But figuring it's the Chief's, hey. I trust him to come clean if the missus is related to the right shady dealings. This is why I left before they even hauled the woman out last night. I'm not going to go around investigating cheating husbands and wives when it's probably just that. Chief appears to have a different idea in mind, though.
There's nothing pleasant in the morning. Anyway, where are you? I told you millions of times before to keep your lines open.
He did, and not only him. Zach, Rebecca, Isabella, all of them have said the same thing numerous times in the past. But I was undercover last night. A phone call is the last thing I want to happen when there are other things I need to focus on at the time. Besides, we have radios and work-issued phones. Why isn't he using those channels if this is urgent?
Just woke up, sir. As awesome as it is to hear your voice this morning, it really is early. If you could give me a few minutes just to wake myself up, that'd be swell.
That would be just fantastic.
No need for that. This won't take long.
Is something wrong? Am I needed at the precinct ASAP?
Oh no, everything's good over there. Just... Look, kid. Pray. Don't take this personally, alright?
Well, that's a good sign.
You're off the Luxbourne firm case. Starting today.
Well, I did not expect to hear that either. This must be some kind of a cosmic joke. I allow some awkward seconds to pass. Chief must be pulling another one of his awful pranks. Out of his bad mood or a severe hangover, maybe? Everyone knows that when given the chance, he exercises no control with his drinking. If it wasn't for his wife causing a stir, he'd probably be trashed an hour in at the party. He likely drank more after they threw her out of the ballroom. Besides, his sense of humor has never been good. It's just infuriating most of the time. But when he doesn't follow it up... If I sound a tiny bit frustrated speaking to my own superior, I'm not the one to blame.
Wait, no. What? Are you kidding, Chief? Is this one of your practical jokes again? The temps won't say anything about it, but I...
It's not that. They're orders. From the higher-ups.
Ah, the higher-ups. Yes, my favorite word. Since when did the higher-ups ever care about what the Criminal Investigation Department did? As far as I could tell, they don't give a hoot if CID is filled with cold cases as long as we keep the spending low. When I need to view those old case files, though, they're locked away in the archives. You're gonna have to check with the higher-ups. I need access to these reports, see if the higher-ups would allow it. Every step, every move in this case, there isn't one that hasn't been gated by some authority. If it's not the chief, it's the commissioner. Or so they always tell me. It makes one wonder why they even bothered assigning it to anyone. Not a single one of them has done anything to help move the case. And they wonder why it has taken this long for even a hint of progress to show?
You can't just drop this on me. You can't just take me off like that.
Yes, I can. And I'm sorry, Ashton. You're a good detective. One of the best I've seen in years, but
3 years, Chief. 3 years.
3 years since that anonymous tech leak blew up. Since Luke Wright's name was openly linked to several nasty dealings within Luxburn's corporate world, some of them involving deaths. 3 years, and I was the only one who made it this far, made much progress that officers with more experience weren't able to do when they handled this case. Just within a year, and with barely any help from the damn brass at that. Of course I'll be pissed.
Do you know what would have happened if I didn't work my ass off on this thing? If I didn't dedicate a whole year of my time on it, it would have gone cold. Like every fucking case Luke Wright has been linked to. I saved this from getting thrown into the archives, sir. I'm getting close. If you could just...
I'm fully aware of what you've done, Frey. But the Commissioner hasn't been happy with your progress. Still too slow by their standards.
Too slow? Well, what about those reports I filed? I've documented every freaking thing for them. I've given you every important lead I can gather. Isn't that enough?
They need results, not a bunch of research papers. Not one baseless assumption after another. Concrete proof, Frey. I'm really sorry. They've already made a decision. They're going to pass this on to someone who's been in the force longer. Someone who has more experience.
Someone who has more experience?
They meant nothing by it, but you're still too young to work on a case this big.
Chief, I've already done more than what those old farts ever did behind their desks. All of it, within just a year of being assigned to this.
Watch your language, Frey. Those are your superiors,
I'm not some damn rookie fresh out of training. I'm as qualified as they are.
Futile. I know it is. They'd never say it within my earshot, but from the very minute I stepped into their precinct, the lot of them had underestimated me. From their stares alone to the assignments I get. To them, I'm still just a kid. Too young, too green, too inexperienced. And once they pull that card on me, every argument I have gets thrown out the window. No matter how logical it is, how much I've accomplished, what the records say, or the amount of work I've put in every investigation they've thrown my way.
We're all aware of your skills, kid. You wouldn't have that badge and rank if you weren't good enough. However, this case is just not for you. Too high profile, too risky to put a good officer like you in harm's way.
Can he even hear himself? That reasoning is odd in itself. No one joins this line of work without knowing the dangers of it.
Don't I get a second chance? You said it yourself. I'm a good detective. It'll just be a matter of time before we can close this.
It doesn't matter what I think, Frey. You're off the case, and that's final. I expect all related files and documents on my desk by Monday morning. And don't even try to go touch anything. I know how hard-headed and determined you are.
Chief, please. A few more weeks. I'll have the proper evidence left on your desk by then. I swear it won't take longer than that.
Fred, it's too late, boy. I've already informed the other officers. You aren't to be allowed access until you've been given a new assignment. Hell, just keep out of the precinct, Fred. Take the weekend off.
Seriously, Chief, is this about last night? If this is about me being at that party, I have a good reason for...
You were at the party.
It makes me pause. His wary tone, the sudden careful note in his voice. Slowly, a frown forms in my face, my eyebrows knitting together in confusion. Much as I hate to say this about my own boss, there's also suspicion in it. Hard not to think of it that way, seeing how he acted around Hannah Wright last night. Is he worried? Why should he be? Everyone who's anyone was invited. I didn't doubt for a second why he received an invite, even if his presence was questionable. There's something wrong, and I've unintentionally walked into it. All I have is the sneaking suspicion, but when one looks at this from a different angle, put everything together, why the hell I've been taken off the case might be for the same reason he was there in the first place. Fuck.
Yes, Chief, I was. For a good reason. What were you doing there? I know we don't have a strict rule against attending functions, but that was...
He coughs, and it almost sounds like he's choking on his own excuses? Lies? I don't want to accuse him of anything. Yet. He's someone I've respected since I joined LPD, even with his bizarre sense of humor and tendency to procrastinate. He's obviously competent enough to get the job done. He wouldn't be Chief Inspector of Luxburn Police if he wasn't. He wouldn't last years in service without some track record backing him. Unless that, too, is a fluke? And what's backing him is not something, but someone. Oh. Oh, shit. Fucking hell. Fucking shit. Ashton.
Chief Harvey, about last night with the...
Why does it matter, Frey? This isn't about that.
Why does it matter? Why does it matter? I'll recite the whole damn oath we've taken upon being sworn into service if I can, but at this point it seems too late to remind him of that. He's probably already moved from serving and protecting people to serving and protecting his own interests. Damn it. I suspected the upper brass of this, even the lower rank subordinates in the force, but from my own boss? Shit, no wonder that leak didn't lead anywhere. Someone closer might have been pulling the strings. I might have been set up to fail long before the fucking case had been assigned to me. But I don't want to just give this up. I don't want to believe I've wasted an entire year for this. I don't want this to be the kind of news to tell Professor Clark after all those promises I've given the man.
I just want to know, sir, at the party, with Luke and Hannah Wright, you were...
Monday, Detective Inspector. First thing in the morning. Every copy of the files you have, I want to see it all on my table, understood?
This isn't...
Frey, am I understood?
What else can I do other than smile and nod? With my own superior expecting an answer, using that tone, brushing my questions off as easily as discarding a dead body. There we go.
Yes. Yes, sir.
He cuts the line as soon as the words are out. Oof. What do we gotta read about that? On the 29th, eh? Ashton Frey received a phone call from the Chief of Luxburn Police first thing in the morning, informing him that he had been taken off the Luxburn firm case. Although his protest fell on deaf ears, the sudden turn of events proved a hunch. Unfortunately, it was a bad hunch. You're off the case, Frey. Just like that. Funny why this still caught me off guard. I've discovered years ago how different the actual thing is. How far from reality everything I've believed in as a dreamy-eyed kid. There are no high-speed pursuits every day, no thrilling gunfights or exciting cases every step of the way. Only paperwork, lots of red tape, and dealing with the politics and bureaucracy. I've set out to change things, hoping it'll make things better for the people I care about. It ended up changing me instead. Serves me right for being too idealistic, I guess? This is probably the universe telling me that it's better to remain the skeptic I really am. Now here I am, standing useless. Can't even do anything but grit my teeth and kick the wall. The bastard didn't even acknowledge my response.
What did the poor wall ever do to you?
It figures Rebecca would be the one to find me in this embarrassing state. Honestly, I don't like it when she sees me like this, which seems to happen a lot, regardless of what I want.
Rebecca, now's not a good time.
The concern I expect from her when I turn isn't there, however. Instead, she just looks, well, the storm I left brewing last night, it's right there on her face, ready to be unleashed.
When is it ever a good time for you? You're always so busy with everything now. Now I find you here, sneaking out without even bothering with a proper goodbye. Not even a word. Really, I'm starting to think you're just keeping me around for my couch and my cooking.
Becca, it's not what you're thinking. I wasn't planning on sneaking out. I was going to say goodbye. I just had to take this call. Although I'm not gonna lie, couch is great. 10 out of 10. Would sleep again.
Stop it with the jokes, Ashton. I'm not in the mood.
Her bitterness is not lost on me. But at this point, our friendship, in our lives, how does she still expect me to answer that? What am I supposed to tell her now?
Are you still mad about last night?
She merely raises an eyebrow at me, which, to be honest, is all the response I need. Seeing her like this makes me believe those things Z-Man says. The part where Rebecca scares him. Sometimes. I've certainly seen this more than once already. But the familiarity of it doesn't really take away from the downhill turn this conversation's starting to take. Only an awkward cough serves as a way to stall.
Okay, of course you're still mad.
Okay.
But whatever happened last night, I really am sorry. I'll apologize as many times as you want. If you want, I'd even kneel or something.
Aw.
Ashton, an apology is nice and all, but that's not what I wanted to hear from you today.
Alright, fine, okay. Where do you want to start?
Oh, I don't know. I've honestly lost track of it by your third trip to the buffet table.
I wasn't... The drive up there took a bit. Can you blame me if I wanted to grab some appetizers?
Oh, come on, Ash! For the whole evening? For the whole party? Please don't tell me that's all you did, because I've never known you as someone who pigs out. You even took great lengths to avoid me. Should I also mention how you ignored Zach? Sometimes I get the feeling you don't want to be seen with us in public. Some friendship, huh?
You know it's not like that. It's never going to be like that, Becca.
I'll ask this again. Just what were you up to during the party? What were you doing that you couldn't even take 2 seconds to make time for your friends?
I couldn't even look her in the eye. It wasn't that I wanted to avoid them. I did it to keep Zach safe, to keep Rebecca safe. Zach comes before Rebecca. Just in case. Client or family friend, it was still a party hosted by a person of interest. By a man accused years ago of murdering a person's wife to get what he wanted. But then Chief showed up, Hannah Wright happened, and Luke Wright just can't be bothered to die peacefully somewhere. All of a sudden, none of my original reasons mattered. If I was found out, right then and there... Hell, if Zach and Rebecca's connection with me was found out, who knows what might have happened. But Rebecca doesn't understand that. Doesn't understand what I can and can't say to keep them from harm. It's all in her eyes, and the tight line of her lips and her furrowed brows. The hurt. This day is just off to a wonderful start. First my case, now Becca. How do I even go about this? Okay, so neither of these leads to a CG, so we're gonna go positive with our girl here.
It's confidential, Rebecca.
Now we're back to even. I wonder how many times I've told her that. And not just her, my dad, my mom, Zach, and even Isabella. How many times have I told them what essentially boiled down to mind your own business? To make sure they're all safe, to keep them out of danger. My job isn't a game. It isn't as glamorous as the television portrays it to be. I had thought so too as a child. I was so clueless back then, wasn't I? But boy, did I learn. The good guys don't always win. Justice isn't always served. Investigation is not looking at a crime scene once to get a eureka moment. It's sleepless nights at the crime lab with the tech guys. It's several days wearing the same clothes with Chinese takeout stains because I'm staking out a place. It's frustration when bureaucracy hinders you from looking into a case any further, or when you know the suspect is guilty but they get away scot-free on a technicality. It's seeing anger and pain and despair with every case.
I know you have a mountain of questions, but I've told you this so many times before. I can't say much more than that.
Still, the look on Rebecca's face, the resentment and the pain, it hurts me as well to think that I'm the cause of that. It's a familiar one, too, something I've seen a lot over the years. I wonder how long it'll take before Zach starts giving me the same one. Or until I've hurt Isabella in a way that any sincere apology won't ever be enough. What a mess. I'm a mess, and it's the people close to me who have to suffer for it.
I guess, if that's the case, there's nothing much I can do about it. You're off being what? A hero, I guess? And I shouldn't rag on you for that.
I could never get used to how quick she just forgives me for whatever shitty thing I do. Zach and Isabella, too. They've all been patient with me, unlike I with them. I don't deserve any of them for the kind of person I've turned out to be.
I'm hardly a hero, Becca. I'm just... Ash.
I expect a retort, another one laced with bitterness. Instead, she laughs. Half-hearted, with barely a hint of cheer in it, but it's a laugh, nevertheless. I honestly don't know what to make of that, what to do with myself upon hearing it. It's almost like the mere sound of it is meant to pierce.
The least you could have done is tell me. Maybe I could have helped. Kept an ear and an eye out for you. I don't know. I could have been Irene Adler, maybe?
She's trying. Her smile doesn't quite reach her eyes, but the mask. She tries so hard for me. I give her a smile of my own, though I imagine it comes off as unenthusiastic as hers. It's far easier to slip back to banter when it's like this, to just brush off everything. At least this way, we wouldn't have to deal with awful things.
The woman? Don't flatter yourself. Nancy Blue, more like.
Her sidekick would beg to differ, Ashett.
I couldn't stop a wry grin from forming in my lips. She probably still has the photo from that contest, keeps it in her old diary. I never did find either of the two after I threatened to burn them. In the end, I just never brought it up again, hoping she'd just forget about the whole thing. But the small smile on her face says a lot. Those were good times. A lot simpler, a lot more peaceful. Now things have changed. We're no longer the same people we were as kids. Growing up together doesn't mean it always has to be just the two of us in the first place. It's a dumb notion to believe in when nothing ever remains constant. Things will inevitably change through the years. And that's the real sticking point, isn't it? To Ash, it's a dumb notion, and to Becca, she's been nurturing that thing for 17 years. In fact, it already has long ago. Not just with the people we allowed into our respective lives, but also with us, as people, as friends. It really does get complicated as we get older, doesn't it? Not everything has to be, though. Even if it's in the form of a promise I have no idea when I'll be able to fulfill.
I swear, I'll explain when it's all over.
The silence afterwards brings an even heavier air between us. Something that Rebecca, thankfully, doesn't allow to linger more than necessary.
I suppose you have to go now, huh?
The situation's already awkward as it is. Dragging this out will only make it more... what? Difficult? Messed up? As if it isn't already.
Back to your case again?
I don't really have to. I have no case. As far as the job is concerned, I have the weekend off until I have to report to Chief on Monday. Although I don't want to just throw in the towel on this, orders are orders. This isn't like the movies. I don't get to say, fuck off, throw my gun and badge at him, become some vigilante, save the day, and get my job back. I'd rather get my ass thrown in jail than do any of that. But it's also not in my nature to sit still and do nothing. It'll drive me crazy if I just idle about. Besides, there's someone who has to know about this whole Luke Wright thing.
Yeah, I need to go talk to Professor Clark. And there's something else I need to look into.
That other matter she mentioned last night, specifically. The same stuff Zachary has also been trying to tell me. Things even the news have been blasting out to the general populace lately. Evening, afternoon, morning, all deaths with the same modus, blamed on a single serial killer. Or is it still the case?
Found dead in the early hours of the morning today. The fire was contained within the room and no other tenants were harmed, according to Luxborn police.
We're grasping at straws as far as these murders are concerned. In the first place, I'm not even the one heading the investigation. Yet look at me treating it as if it's another high-profile case on my shoulder. How sad is that? Although all 3 of my friends have mentioned seeing something strange, I don't want to go into that line of thinking for now. Not yet. Not until I've exhausted every logical argument I could throw at it. To be honest, though, I don't know how to take all of this anymore. But I've already given Isabella my word. It'd bother me more if I didn't follow up on a promise I made to her. And after Rebecca's claims last night, there won't be enough sarcasm in the world if what my friends have been telling me is true. I can already hear Isabella's laughter, in fact.
Figures. What else can it be?
It's not another case. It's something else. That issue Isabella mentioned yesterday morning. I'm sure you remember. You were there.
Well, at least you're not neglecting all your friends.
Becca, I promised her I'll...
She doesn't wait for me to finish. With a roll of her eyes, she turns around and shuts the door in my face. I have no idea what I've said this time, but... you brought up the Isabella. The rival. Like, at least you care about somebody, even if it's not me.
I probably deserve that.
Probably. Well, we'll just have to read our journal again. That's all you can do. Rebecca confronted Ashton about what happened at the party the night before. Unable to tell her any details, the latter simply admitted it was confidential. Although Rebecca accepted this, her displeasure remained evident on her face. We'll just have to fix this some other time. By then, her temper is sure to have cooled off significantly. Hopefully. Right? For now, I can't laze around. Gotta attend to things that matter more. Professor Clark first, deliver the bad news, then that issue with BRC and Isabella. Maybe I'll also drop by Zach's. Check on him, hear what he has to say. He has also read that damn letter. Has also been saying odd things about a bunch of photographs. I might as well, while I'm here, playing a paranormal detective? Or was it supernatural? I can't remember. Whatever. It wouldn't hurt anyone if I tried to get to the bottom of this. If nothing comes out of this, good. Everyone can shut up about stupid curses and we can finally get back on track with our lives. On to more important stuff. If there is something...
Are you two done?
There's a moment of confusion when I don't see her familiar ponytail about, only to find her standing behind the door to her apartment seconds later. Isabella holds it open, though only slightly, as if to hide from anyone who might happen to pass by. This early and on a lazy weekend? I doubt anyone would. But from the gap and what little light there is behind her, I could make out the appearance of someone who has just clearly gotten off from bed. Hair in complete disarray, eyes still heavy with sleep, and a small pout on her lips. She hasn't even gotten out of her... pajamas. I look away long before my sense of decorum kicks in. We might be friends. I'll even dare say we've grown closer over the years, but that doesn't extend beyond the bounds of propriety. Christ, even Rebecca never greets early visitors in her sleep clothes. But maybe it's our fault why she's up this early. Still, heat makes a slow crawl up my neck, one that I quickly downplay with a solid cough.
Isabella, you're up early.
Lame.
No, I'm not. I'm usually up at this hour. You're the one that usually sucks at getting up early.
Says the person who looks like she's just fallen out of bed.
Instead of the usual quip, she simply averts her gaze to some point beside her. And although it only flashes briefly across her face, an expression of hurt flickers in her eyes. It disappears the second she turns her attention back to me, but that moment has sent a worried twinge in my stomach. I've seen it on her plenty of times before, just never in a manner that unsettles. It feels, I don't know, off this time? I didn't say anything wrong, did I?
Hey, are you...
Anyway, was that Becca with you? You both sound like Mama and Papa when they fight. You're awfully loud. If we get another memo from the landlady, I'm asking the guard to ban you from ever entering this place.
Me? Becca's the one almost shouting.
Yeah, well, she lives here. You don't.
Good point.
You have no excuse. You're the suspicious-looking person.
Thanks. Glad at least one person appreciates how I pretty up this place.
Don't flatter yourself. This place would be so much better without having to see your face every few days.
She follows it up with another pout. But her ruffled appearance, particularly how puffy her eyes are, I noticed just now, takes away from the intimidating effect she's trying to show. Yeah, I think she just got some news. Really, right now, she just looks more like an angry puppy. I might have laughed had it not given me another nagging sense that something is definitely wrong with her. What? Has she been crying earlier? That is worrying. She rarely does that. The only time it happened? The one time I've ever seen her genuinely tear up over something? I think it was after Devlin Court, the night at the bridge. I want to ask. She seems determined to keep it to herself, though.
Belle, did something...
About yesterday, Ash. The things we talked about. Do you think we can take a look at it today?
We? I never said you're coming with me. Don't worry, I didn't forget about it. You'll be the first to know if I find anything.
No, I want to go with you. I'll be ready in a few. This won't take long.
Isabella, you really don't have to. I can handle it on my own. You'll just...
I won't get in the way, I promise. Besides, maybe I can help. You know, if there are files you want to check.
I don't like what she's implying. It's true LPD's having a hard time with this, but taking Isabella with me, it's out of the question. Under normal circumstances...
You're the one who's going to get in trouble if you do that.
You said it yourself. You need information, and I can help you get that. And it's not like it matters anymore. I just don't want to stand around doing nothing today.
Well, what a coinky dink. Neither do I. There it is again. The slight shift in her eyes, the mild crease forming between her eyebrows, and the mild slump in her shoulders while she crosses her arms tightly around herself. Like she's shielding herself from whatever painful thing there is out here. I have plenty of reasons why I shouldn't let her tag along. First and foremost, she's a civilian. Second, I have no concrete plan of action yet. I'm going into this blind. No matter how I look at it, it's simply better for her to just wait so she won't get dragged into what might be another one of my failures. Her assumptions might be a dead end for all we know. But seeing that expression on her, hearing her speak those words out loud in a desperate, almost pleading tone, I can't bring myself to say no. So I give in, because right there, I see myself in her. The person who doesn't want to stay idle, who doesn't want to think of the problems haunting him.
All right, 5 minutes.
What? You're timing me?
Well, I can't wait forever. I'm a very busy guy. 4 minutes and 45 seconds, Isabella.
I hate you so much.
No, you don't.
I'm taking back what I said last week. You haven't changed at all.
4 minutes and 30 seconds, 29, 28. I'd hurry if I were you.
Ugh, you're awful! I hope you never get a girlfriend.
She slams the door right after, although my chuckles, the mirth and the lightness in it linger. With her, those have always come easy somehow, even as its echoes fade and only the ghost of a smile remains.
It's not like I'm looking for anyone else.
Aww, my heart. I want to tell her, but I have a journal entry to read. Look how cute she is in her sheep pajamas. Disturbed by the ruckus outside her unit, Isabella reprimanded Ashton for the noise. The latter noted her disheveled appearance and puffy eyes. Although, before he could ask about it, she brought up the issue with BRC again and insisted they both look into it that night. It's not because I can't tell her. I won't. I'm the one who has chosen not to until I fixed myself, until I found myself underneath all that guilt and those lies I've been telling all these years. Because no matter how heavy the weight of these feelings are, I am not yet worthy of them. Of her. Until then, little words and gestures are the only things I can offer. Minor stuff such as digging deeper into this thing with BRC in order to ease her worries. I'm not even sure if this will give us anything. Unlike with the firm case, which I already have proper leads on, I'm just going by her word on this. Speaking of the Luxburn firm case, I still have to inform the professor. The apprehension's there for sure. I've made a lot of promises to the man, and I would have preferred to tell him in person, not over the phone. But it's better for him to hear it from me rather than from a stranger. The railings offer a steady support while I wait for him to answer. I'd like to think I can do this without losing my nerve. My grip on the bar surely tightens, though, once the call connects.
Ashton!
Not running today, Professor?
He's usually at the park on late Saturday mornings, as long as it isn't raining cats and dogs. Keeps him young and healthy, he says, and he's certainly fit for a man of his age with a sedentary job.
Oh, no, not today.
He's definitely at the usual place, though. Cheers and laughter, likely from children and families, filter through the receiver. I tend to avoid the park precisely because of this. No use reminding myself of the could-haves when it's already over. Mom's doing well with her career. Dad's also fine the last time I visited. Although neither remarried, they're both content with their lives as it is. I'm probably the only one still caught up with it, hence my aversion. But all in all, it's still a pleasant sight to see, if you're the kind who takes joy in such sights like Professor Clark does.
Just thought I'd enjoy the nice weather before it takes a turn for the norm again. And to what do I owe the pleasure?
The guy certainly seems happy right now in any case. I almost don't want to break the news to him. But it's better to get this off quick as long as he doesn't shoot the messenger. He's not the type. However, long-held resentment can change a person. Even someone as mild-mannered as the professor.
I was hoping to talk to you about the case.
I suppose I'm just the downer today. As soon as I say those words, he pauses and the lightness in his voice is gone in an instant. Every time we've talked about this in the past, he does that. He's probably trying to gauge the situation based on the tone of my voice. Perhaps it's a good thing I'm delivering this news through the phone. Who knows what he'll see in my face and my mannerisms. The art of keen observation? I learned it from the man. He probably already has an idea what this might be about from my manner of speaking alone.
You aren't in trouble, are you?
For a second, I hesitate, looking at the dirt beneath my shoes. But I manage eventually. After a long, ragged draw of breath, I pick up where I've left off, though still fumbling with my words.
Well, I'm in a bit of trouble, if you can call it that.
Ashton.
He only assumes that tone when there's a reprimand at its heels.
But I'm not in danger or anything.
You've said that same excuse a million times before, Detective Inspector. That exhaustive rasp in your voice tells a different story.
It's nothing like what you're thinking. Don't worry. I was taken off the Luxborn firm case.
I expect anger, frustration, maybe even disappointment. But all he gives me is a small sigh of relief.
Is that so? Well, at least you aren't in danger. Liz wouldn't be too happy if she heard you right now.
Liz. Aunt Liz, she insisted I call her. His late wife. A sweet-tempered woman by so many standards. They were never blessed with kids and contented herself with simply managing their bakery. But she's the closest I had to a mom in the few years I had known her. The professor, too. In the absence of my own parents in my life, the two filled the ache their divorce left in me.
Believe me, you'd get an earful. You don't want to show up on her doorstep looking like you haven't slept a wink either.
How many years has it been since? 9? 10? I can still remember it vividly. Two men, primly dressed, briefcases in hand, and a stern look on each of their faces. They were already frequent visitors to the bakery for a few months. Something about the lot being a prime property in downtown Luxburn. I think they were hoping to settle a deal with them, but neither of the couple gave in to their demands. Why should they? That quaint little shop was a dream for them. Aunt Liz sent me home early that night after a fruitless wait for the professor. The next morning, news of a bakery razed to the ground had spread across the whole city. One casualty. A few weeks later, the property was sold to Wright Enterprise. A fucking hotel now stands in its place. Of course, an investigation was launched after the incident. The name Luke Wright was briefly at the center of it, but with the lack of any evidence, the case ultimately went cold. The professor hides it well, however I can tell that he hates that man to this day. He might even blame Luke Wright for every tragedy that happens in the city. He has never blamed me, though, when I'm as equally responsible. I knew something's off the moment those men stepped inside the shop. I could have saved her that night. I could have prevented anything from happening to her, called for help, or whatever. I didn't. So it continues to eat at me until today, the guilt. The Luxburn firm case would have been our chance at reopening that old case if we could prove Luke right of his crimes. Instead, we're back to square one. Yet all he has for me are words of comfort. To think he can still be this concerned about me after my carelessness, after I've broken another promise a second time. People never cease to amaze me.
You might think that you have failed as an officer. Or maybe you think that you have failed me. And you know more than anyone. I would love to see that man taken down. If anyone deserves to be tried in high court, it's him. But I'm glad nothing's happened to you while you were working on this. That's what's most important. I'd hate to get news like that again.
Suddenly he stops. I imagine a thoughtful look flashing in his eyes as he thumbs the wedding band on his ring finger before he continues. Another habit. He has never removed it since that day, has never thought once to remarry, even when he managed to continue with his life and return to some semblance of normalcy. It's his way of honoring her, I suppose, when he couldn't bring to justice the man responsible for his loss. Some people are just hard to forget.
It's not like another death. Yours or even his will bring back my wife.
Silence falls between us afterwards. I don't quite know what to say after that, really. Should I apologize? Show some sympathy? Going into this, I should have thought of something other than just breaking the news to him. As it is, it seems the only thing we can do is feel sorry for each other's misfortunes.
I apologize, too, for putting you up to this.
In another occasion, under different circumstances, I might have accepted that, but...
You didn't have to, but you've already done more than any officer who has investigated this. So don't worry about this, old man. I know your department's people all have their hands full recently, too. What with the upsetting news we've been getting as of late, deaths almost every day. I'm not entirely sure if that has anything to do with the other. It seems too big even for someone like him. But if this is that man's doing...
Professor, please.
Maybe if things around me hadn't started going beyond my control, the letter, the mansion, the supposed curse behind those, I'd still be quick to blame it all on the bastard too. But as much as I want to keep holding him responsible for it, to add another to his list of sins, it might not be the case. Agreeing will only cut a deeper wound on the professor. I don't want him to keep clinging to this resentment for much longer. He has already gone through so many years of it. This kind of anger, it's the sort that blinds people. Despite his reassurances, the bitterness still seeps into every syllable he utters. It's one thing for me to act like this. It's painful to watch someone I've considered a second father to go down this path.
Please don't apologize. It's really all right. I can try to get it back on Monday when I meet with the chief. No promises, but if not, I'll make sure to keep an ear out for any news. Chief said he's passing it on to a senior officer. I should be able to catch a few tidbits every once in a while, but I swear I won't just give up on this. I'll do everything in my power to get Aunt Liz's case reopened for you.
Promises. Again, a bad habit at this point. I wish I could do more for him. All this time, I've prided myself over being the one to always know. Because suddenly, aside from Wright and the murders plaguing the city, I have ghosts and curses to worry about, things that are completely out of my depth. Professor Clark's right in some way. Things would be so much easier if we just blamed Luke Wright for all of this. At least finding evidence would be a breeze, and I'd be all too happy to put him in a place he belongs. Although if he was, in any way, also complicit to what's happening, legalities have my hands tied. But maybe that's my fault. I might have missed the ticket to closing the case once and for all last night. If only I had done a better job during the party. But then, the commotion. There was Hannah Wright and Rebecca distracting me from my purpose too. I'd include that Gatecrasher as well, even though it's only for a moment. So many things have gone wrong last night that...
This isn't a prank! I saw something!
Wait a minute!
See? This is why I didn't want to tell you guys!
Maybe the woman with blood dripping out of her eyeballs wasn't a gatecrasher, but was a ghost!
It's not a joke! Will you guys listen to me first? I saw something in the house earlier. It stood right in front of me. If I hadn't gotten away, that thing might have...
Last night, at the party.
But it's real! What do you think I saw? It happened after, when I was trying to get away. I almost got stuck in the same room with that thing. We're all in danger. I thought you were my friends. Why don't you believe me?
That woman.
Why don't we all calm down first? I'm sure Isabella has her reasons too. No need to be hard on her.
Shit. At some point I hung up with the professor and the call started over again. If that was what Isabella had been warning us about, if it was the same thing Rebecca talked about last night, or what Zach told me about a few days prior, how many of these instances have I dismissed since reading the letter? How many have I ignored and passed off as some effect of fatigue or lack of sleep? Or a cold? Even last night, a hallucinogen lacing the food is the first thing I considered, purely because that's what my training dictates. It's a mindset I've grown used to. It's the setting the gears in my head automatically takes in a situation like that. Of course, I'm not discounting all of that yet until I have enough information. Something to form a conclusion from. Proof, in whatever form it may come. But thinking straight is impossible when all of a sudden all your beliefs are being upturned, in the most violent way possible at that. Jesus, I need a sounding board. I need to talk to someone and Zach's the best person for that.
I have to go, Professor.
Oh, no problem. But what are you...
Click. But, Ashton, we were having a moment. Wait, you hung up the phone and called me back, and then... Oh, okay. While waiting for Isabella, Ashton called Professor Andrew Clark to inform him of his dismissal from the Luxburn firm case. While Andrew assured him that it was fine, the detective promised to keep an eye on the case. However, a realization cut the conversation short. I don't have time to stop and listen to what the professor has to say as I cut the call short. In the same second, Isabella emerges from her apartment fully dressed and ready for the day. As usual, she greets me with a smile, but it falls just as fast when she catches a glimpse of my face. Shame, that would have been the first comforting thing I see today. It annoys me that I'm partially responsible for the worried one replacing it. I must look close to a picture of someone choking or dying, because there's nothing but concern in the first words she speaks.
Ash, are you... Do you need to go to the bathroom?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't, okay. But we should hurry. Come on, don't forget to lock your door.
Seriously, you look like you're about to fall over. Are you alright? Because if you're planning to faint right here, I won't be able to carry you.
Yes, don't mind me. I just remembered some stuff from last night. I need to talk to Z-Man about this. Mind if we drop by his place first?
Shouldn't we call him? To let him know? It's still pretty early, though we'd probably arrive there around noon. Also, what do you mean about this? Is Zach...
He was also there when I opened the letter, right? He read it too. I'm sure he's fine, but it wouldn't hurt to check on him. To make sure. See if he'll say the same things you told me yesterday.
If he's also been seeing things. If it's also the same woman I saw last night.
I'm not saying there's really a curse yet, but we have to look at this from every possible angle. And don't worry, he won't mind. He's probably just watching TV right now. Let's go.
Okay, but speak up if you're not feeling well. You really look like you're choking on something. You didn't have to do this for me in the first place.
You know it's not as simple as that.
We head down to my car in record time with not a single second wasted to hit the road and drive to Zach's place. If any one of us, other than Isabella, who knows anything about what's... Wait, hold on, let me read that again. If any one of us, other than Isabella, who knows anything about what's going on, who can help sort the muddled mess my mind is? It's gotta be him. He listened to her.